Hey there, Minnesota Vikings fans. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I got Adam Carlson.
I'm here.
I got Kyle Smith.
Coming at you from El Paso, Texas.
Yeah, you betcha, buddy. Stationed out there getting her done.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. We are on episode 173. This is our bi-week special. We're going to call it
It is.
Bye Felicia.
Which we had to explain to Mr. West.
Yeah, I had no idea what that was from. Apparently, the movie Friday. It's been so long since I've seen it, I don't remember it. But
I'm sorry in advance for everybody. That's a horrible title. You can blame me this week.
Well, we were going to go with Bye, but there were just too many Vikings podcasts out there with that name. That, and I don't know about how many Minnesota Vikings fans out there are still big supporters of NSYNC.
Yeah, the NSYNC community out there. We don't know how large that is. Although I did hear rumblings of a reunion tour, so maybe when the new stadium opens up, they can come play in Minnesota. And we can all go to the concert. How about that? You guys down for that?
If that ever happens, sure, why not?
I totally don't know all the words,
Well,
or do I?
We'll make
I didn't even know NSYNC for 100%, so I might not be the best guy for this.
Well, hey, let's get in sync with some quick hits for the Minnesota Vikings. Hey-o! How about that one?
Mr. West is going to take over the quick hits for me because my jaw is not functioning at 100% due to some medical issues. So, thank you, Mr. West.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up the slack every now and then around this joint, right? So we're gonna start out with the Minnesota Vikings traded linebacker Gerald Hodges to the 49ers for center Nick Easton and a 6th round draft selection.
All right.
Now, Mr. Carlson told me, and Mr. West the other day, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, try not to let you talk too much. I know you're hurting. Pro Football Focus, is that what you were saying, the grade?
Yes.
Okay, so what Mr. Carlson explained to us, for those of you like me who might not have known, 0.0 is an average NFL player. He listed one Teddy Bridgewater at 0.5, slightly above average. Safety Harrison Smith was a 2-something. Who was it? Anthony Barr was in the 3s. Apparently, the center that we got from San Francisco is a 9.5, according to Pro Football Focus. And I was
He had an amazing preseason.
Huh. So, for all you guys, I know you're probably thinking tackle or guard. Offensive line depth in general is amazing. And just take it for what it's worth. I think they tried to address it on the bye week, and I think they did an out-of-the-park job. So good job, upper brass of the Vikings.
I think the Vikings are looking at him as a long-term answer to the backup role on the interior line. Because Joe Berger's getting a little long in the tooth. I love Joe Berger, I do. But he's getting a little old, and it might be time for him to hang it up soon. Nick Easton might be the guy to take over.
You did say that he is an excellent run blocker, so that is only going to help us out. So for all of you that want to say, hey, let's get back to the ground and pound with Adrian. So as long as he stays in the form that he's in now, if we have Mr. Easton there, he will be doing just that.
And he's a former Harvard man.
And the last time we had a center from Harvard, things worked out pretty darn well for the Minnesota Vikings. Really quick, are you guys worried about the loss of Gerald Hodges? Because I know a lot of Vikings fans all over social media, all over Twitter and Facebook, were really upset that Hodges got traded. And I am pretty okay with it because
I liked having Hodges there for depth. I did. But I don't think that he is as essential as people think he is. I think that Kendrick stepped up to a starting role in a big way. And that really did make Hodges expendable at this point.
I think that it's kind of like the Jared Allen loss, not in the sense that Hodges is just past his prime, but like Mr. Carlson said, we have the depth, and I think, as Mike Zimmer said in one of his conferences last week, Kendricks has already filled that role, and he has already kind of asserted himself as a starter. So I hate to see him go.
Here. Gerald Hodges, he isn't exactly Jared Allen level.
No.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think that
people are talking like this is Patrick Willis.
I think the thing that makes it tough is we liked him a lot as a player, and we liked him a lot as a person as well off the field. So it's hard to see those guys that that play pretty well and they're nice guys off the field, don't give you too many issues, see him leave. But good luck in San Fran, man. Absolutely. And he was very classy on Twitter about his exit, so always love that.
Mike Wallace did not participate in Wednesday's practice after reportedly getting injured in the Denver game. He may have taken what would we say it was, Mr. Smith, a helmet to the knee?
A helmet to the knee. I think either Mr. Dan or Mr. Carlson there wrote about it, but basically he was not listed at practice, but he did unofficially get some time in there. So don't really know what that means and what that was about. He was there, got some action, but as far as on paper goes, he wasn't our participant.
Wallace is a KG vet. Not missing one practice, he'll be fine. Besides, we got the secret weapon, Stephon Diggs, so we are totally covered at wide receiver. Former Minnesota Vikings quarterback Matt Castle going to be starting for the Dallas Cowboys because, folks, Brandon Whedon sucks.
That's not what Jury said.
Well,
now Dallas has a bye week coming up, but following that bye, Matt Castle is going to get his shot to lead the Dallas Cowboys in Tony Romo's absence.
Can you imagine that growing up? I mean, just anywhere, you think of the teams growing up. Like for me, Green Bay was the team growing up, or San Fran for that era in the early 90s. The Cowboys. Imagine growing up and saying, man, I want to be the quarterback for the Cowboys. He had
That's
a great
exactly
year.
What Matt Castle did. This is his dream.
That's so freaking cool. He had that one really good season in New England, minus missing the playoffs. He did okay for us. He managed, but just to check that off the bucket list, like, hey, I played quarterback for the Cowboys. That's a pretty cool thing. So good luck, Matt, since we don't play you this year.
Absolutely.
Stadium construction is over 75% complete. If you guys have seen any photos of the stadium up there in Minnesota, you can definitely tell that this thing is coming along exceptionally well. Looks really, really good. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, a lot of the exterior is already in place, so you get a good idea of what it's going to look like. It's now what they're doing is they're filling up the insides. They're working on the seats, the banisters, all that kind of stuff, the rails, implementing all those screens. There's a lot going on inside right now.
I actually seen an article, I think it was on Vikings.com, where they were talking something about how fans are going to love the LED lighting. So
yeah, it's supposed to be amazing and give fans one of the most realistic looks at football, because a lot of that, I don't want to say fake lighting, but there is a lot of kind of lighting that can really take away from your experience. And Mr. West, I know you know that because of your background in photography.
Yeah, I do photography work, and fluorescent lighting is absolutely the worst thing imaginable in the history of lighting. I hate it so very, very much, especially when you get the tinted yellow or blue fluorescent color on it. So yeah, LED lighting is really good. It really does give you more of a natural look to it, and especially with as much of the stadium being glass is what it is, you're going to have your natural sunlight that's coming in as well too. So it should be a really nice look and feel for the inside of the stadium.
Looking forward to that.
NFL Power Rankings has the Minnesota Vikings ranked 12th and 13th. We had two different lists here, so that is why one had us ranked 12th, one had us ranked 13th, respectively. So good things coming for the Vikings on being ranked high. Do you remember what lists those were offhand, Mr. Smith?
Yes. 13th, I just read was from CBS. I don't remember the writer. I do remember NFLs.com's Elliot Harrison put us at 12th, which was nice, because if you look at the playoff format, that means we would be in the top 12, which means we could get the last playoff spot as a wild card, which is what I think this team will squeeze in as. Basically, the 13th rank from CBS was not so nice. It said we were kind of a disappointment, which to some fans would say yes. We could have beaten Denver. The San Fran game was terrible. But that's what kind of the 12th ranking from Elliot Harrison said. He gave us a good, a bad, and the ugly. And I love the fact that he kept it real. The good was our defense, mainly the line. Yes, that was a good. The bad was our offensive struggles. Having AP back, but I think we're 27th in the pass game. So we definitely need to improve there. And the ugly was obviously the San Francisco game.
Well, let's talk about one thing about Minnesota, why they're ranked so high. They are a top 5 defense when it comes to red zone defense. They
Yeah.
don't allow touchdowns down there.
That's crucial. And it said that we only allow, well, minus the San Fran game. God, I wish it was a 15-game season. Uh, we're allowing an
Just
average,
one
I think, of
mulligan.
yeah, just one. We're 2-1 as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it said that we allow, and I could be off on the decimal point, but it was 18.3 points a game for opposing teams. So that's a relatively low number. So be proud of that.
Vikings cornerback Xavier Rhodes. Hey, they got him practicing wearing boxing gloves out there. That is to help stop him from holding. We don't want those holding penalties, Xavier. So they got the boxing gloves on him. Pretty unique, kind of cool thing they're doing to help him out.
A gift from Captain Munerlin.
Was it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he got him for him because so far, Xavier Rhodes, every game this season so far, has had a holding penalty against him. And he currently ties for the most penalties in the NFL along. Well, I don't know about now because a game
with the week off, but
yeah.
before.
But prior to that, he was tied for the most in the NFL with Everson Griffin.
I'm totally fine with the way Xavier plays. Of course, you want to have less penalties. You can say that for any time a player gets a penalty. You never want it to happen. But, man, he's a big physical corner who just gets out there. And like we talked about prior, Adam, is they asked him, go cover Calvin Johnson. Go cover these top-tier wide receivers. And I think he does a damn good job of it. And also, you seen the photo of him with those boxing gloves on? Like,
intimidating.
Like, he could go knock out Floyd Mayweather or whatever. I don't want to fight Xavier Rhodes, man.
You know what? I'm totally okay with that too. I like the aggressive play. Is the worst thing, especially from 2011 up to 2013, basically till Mike Zimmer got there and Chile was fired. We just had all these corners that kept getting burned. And you know what? I'm okay if we have a physical corner.
Me too.
That's going to shut people down and jump in front of the ball and try to intercept it and make them earn every yard. So with that's going to come some penalties.
and someone.
Yeah, we don't even have to say his name.
Christopher Cook.
What we did.
Let's see here. What's next on the list? Speaking of Xavier Rhodes, hey, he was fined a good chunk of change. $17,363.99. I don't know, I made that part up. For a horse collar tackle, excuse me. I'm sure
on Emmanuel Sanders.
Got fined for that one. Probably another reason why he's happy to practice with the boxing gloves on. No one wants to lose their money, man. It's your hard-earned money. I don't care how much you have. No one ever wants to get fined for it.
No, it's not like he's Peyton Manning or anything and has the money floating around. This is a guy that's still on his rookie deal.
Let's
be interesting to see how much he gets paid.
Probably more than the three of us combined.
Yes.
Minnesota Vikings offensive line ranked 15th through 4 weeks by the Pro Football Focus. What do you guys think? 15, too high, too low, about right? What do you think?
I wrote an article about this, and I felt that actually that's probably pretty accurate, considering a lot of the blocking problems aren't coming from the line themselves, and several guys on the line are backups. I think a lot of the problem is stemming from tight ends and fullbacks, and running backs, of course, struggling to pick up blitzers, and I think that's where a lot of the pressure is coming from.
I agree with you, Adam. I think, for having, like you said, for having DJ Clemmings out there who wasn't supposed to be playing, he's playing admirably. Matt Khalil, I think, is having a pretty darn good season for the Vikings. We've not having to mention bad plays by Matt Khalil like what we were in the past. We know about Sully being gone. We know about the flip-flopping they're doing on the tackles out there. So, yeah,
I do think that Mike Harris went from having his name penciled in to being inked in. I think he will be a starter from here on out.
I think 15 might be maybe a little high for it, but honestly, dude, I'm not really one of these people who gets really caught up by Pro Football Focus, so I don't care where they have us ranked. I just want okay, that's kind of arbitrary to me. It's like, what?
We aren't numbers guys here.
Yeah, we're really not. It's like, watch them for yourself, form your own opinion, and like come back and tell us what you think about it, guys. Let's see here. Alan Page, A Football Life, to air on the NFL Network. Hey, that's October 16th, 2015, in case you were coming out of Doc Brown's time machine. It's going to air at 9,
Cubbies win.
9,
Cubbies win.
9 p.m. The Cubs win the World Series. They told us that in Back to the Future Part 2.
Oh, I just see Will Ferrell when you say that, and it makes me laugh.
I think that between me and Mr. West, Back to the Future has been seen too many times by this group.
That is my favorite movie of all time, and I kid you guys not, right before we started recording this, I watched the first Back to the Future. So, yeah.
There you go.
Let's see, we're going to preview the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to take on Alex Smith. Are you guys afraid of the Alex Smith-led, without Jamal Charles, mind you, Kansas City Chiefs?
Alex Smith gets a bad rap, I tell you.
I'm absolutely ready.
I think Alex
I have
Smith
my
is
reasons,
a little more
and they're
accurate
very
than
simple.
people think.
I think he's a quality quarterback. I don't think one thing jumps out at me about him. He's not the most mobile. He doesn't throw a lot of deep balls, but he gets the job done. I think he's very respectable. I don't think you sleep on an Alex Smith. But I'll tell you 3 things. We're at home, and we do kick ass at home. The Chiefs do not do good on the road. Number 2, they lost their best player last week, and I wish him a speedy recovery. He is one of the best backs in the NFL, and it just sucks. That wasn't even another player causing the injury. Just cut wrong. A speedy recovery, Jamal Charles, that blows. We know how much that sucks. And, it happened to us a couple years ago with Adrian. Unfortunately, it was the next last game of the year. Basically, what it comes down to for me and why I think we're going to win this game, and I'll say that now, the Chiefs don't have an explosive passing game. They do have a very good tight end in Travis Kelce, but they don't have an explosive passing game, which means they're going to have to rely a lot on the run, their best player being the running back being down, and our defensive line who stops the run. And I'd say we have a pretty respectable secondary. We're going to make it very, very tough on them all day long in that aspect.
The Chiefs are going to be tougher than people think, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that people are looking past Jeremy Maclin. He's a guy that really can get things done. I know that a lot of people look back to his time in Philly and see him as being a second fiddle type guy, but he really could be a number 1. And I don't think that they miss Dwayne Bowe as much as a lot of people think that they would be. Now, they have a really interesting group of running backs that are going to be trying to take over for Jamal Charles. But a lot of them are really young players, a lot of rookies. And honestly, that kind of unknownness scares me more than there being just an average player back there. Because one of these guys could be just absolutely amazing. And that's something that does have me shaking in my boots a little bit.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty tough test for the Vikings, as I think, any game you play in the NFL is going to be tough. There are no easy games. And because, hey, didn't we all think that the 49ers game at the beginning of the season was going to be easy? Look at what happened. We got absolutely destroyed in every facet of that game. Not that I think that's going to happen against the Kansas City Chiefs, but, I mean, hey, they can sneak up on you. Like you were saying about Alex Smith, he's a sneaky quarterback. He's not Peyton Manning, he's not Tom Brady, we know this. But he's more athletic than what people want to give him credit for. He can beat you. Like, if you don't account for his...
efficient.
Yes, he is very efficient on moving the ball down the field. So definitely don't look over the Kansas City Chiefs. Look for a good, solid, strong outing for them. It'll be a good test. I do believe we can pick up the win. I always believe we can pick up the win. And I'm looking forward to it because, man, this week without Vikings football has sucked.
I'm excited to see Charkandrick West. I don't know much about this guy. But
What position, Adam? I don't know what position.
he will be the starting running back in Jamal Charles' place.
Okay, and it's interesting because running back is a position that you can find guys from all over. I mean,
True.
you don't have to be a top tier drafted early on player. You can get backs that undrafted. They come out of nowhere, and they can have that.
Exactly.
They can have that one game where they all of a sudden splash, and you do got to be worried a little bit because there's no real tape on this guy.
And let's say West is struggling, then they can plug in Niles Davis, who Niles Davis has the potential to be a guy that maybe not a number one in the NFL, but a guy that is a surefire guy that you could split time with. Then they got to change a pace guy, DeAnthony Thomas. Scary speed on that guy. This is a team that has weapons, and you can't forget that going into this game.
You know what? I'll play the Captain Obvious card here. You know what scares me? Their defense. Justin Houston is a monster. And seeing how much Denver got to us. Now, I'm telling you, I wish that I didn't notice this as much, and maybe I'm just behind the curve. But I look at a lot of situations, like you said earlier, God, I hope we don't come into this being cocky and San Francisco happening. We were away. We have not been good away the last year, and we were prime time. We were horrible prime time. So we're at home. We're playing at our normal time, which I think is to our advantage. I think the fans are going to show up pumped because we haven't been home in 2 weeks. So, but that defense, I mean, especially Justin Houston, circle that guy. You've got to count for him. You got to do a better job than you did against Denver. So write that down. That's what scares me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see how much time Hussein Abdullah is going to get. Because he's a guy that I actually liked when he was in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, former Viking. He plays, I think, pretty decent amount of snaps for him, if I remember right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get to see a guy that a lot of Vikings fans wish was on the Vikings roster. Marcus Peters.
Mm-hmm. It would be a tough test for Cordero Patterson. If Cordero Patterson was playing, he won't be playing, folks.
He might. Who knows? He might be the next Mike Wallace.
If
Mike Wallace
you
can't
might
play.
see him, but I'm gonna bet he's gonna have like one catch for an arbitrary amount of yards. That's not gonna amount to anything. Let's move on to our social media question of the week.
Woo!
What is the biggest adjustment that the Vikings should make during the bye week?
Yeah. Eric Larson says fix the offensive line. That's it.
Hey, and he got 3 thumbs up for it too.
He did. Matthew Kyle says Walsh.
Walsh.
Robert Hamilton had a couple different answers there. He had win the damn game.
Okay.
Get the hell off the field on third down.
Yep.
I'm assuming he means defensively.
Mm-hmm. Not offense. Well, we want the offense to stay out there on third down, folks.
And protect the quarterback, which those are all good things.
I agree with all of those, although...
Davinia Warner thinks that we should open up the offense and use the pass to set up the run. It's hard because the formation doesn't really allow that to happen, and when you got a guy like Adrian Peterson, you want to get him going early as possible. So that's a tough situation there.
I get what he's saying, but at the same time, you just gotta feed the beast. You gotta give it to AP and let him do what he does. Do what you do, AP.
Absolutely.
Stick to it too, because that's what happens on 4th and 1 at Denver last week or the week before, when he plows through a hole big enough for a semi and just takes it to the house. That's what happens when you stick to the run. So I like that idea.
Mike Leonard's looking at the secondary. Decrease Newman's role and increase Wayne's role. Find another safety to play beside Smith. Then he talks wide receiver about promoting Diggs to a starter, making Diggs and Wallace the 2 starting wide receivers, figure out why Teddy isn't using his tight ends, and last but not least, lock the offensive line in a room and figure out how to block.
Lock them in a room, throw some bees in there with them, and be like, figure it out, guys. Just figure this out.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for answering that question, guys. We're going to have a question for you again. This one's going to be a little bit more fun. We're going to ask you, what is the absolute worst thing? Like, think of the most despicable thing that you would ever do. The most horrible thing you'd ever do if it guaranteed that the Minnesota Vikings would win a Super Bowl.
Keep it a little PG, right?
If
God,
you say so, I want him to have fun. I want have at her.
I say have fun, but don't get too disgusting. But that's just me. You can do whatever you guys would do to guarantee Vikings would win a Super Bowl. Let us know. Show no shame. Show
Yeah,
none.
let us know if you would be a Packer fan for 5 years if it
Oh,
meant the Vikings would
oh.
win for one. Then say that.
Adam, you broke my heart just saying that. Just thinking of you being a Packers fan just eats me up on the inside.
If you would set a animal shelter on fire.
Oh,
Oof.
that's horrible. Don't do that. We don't condone this activity. Just
I'm not saying do these things. I'm not.
disclaimer, Adam. Disclaimer. We do not condone doing it.
This is a purely hypothetical situation. But I want to see you guys have fun because this question could be a lot of fun. And last time I posted a question like this, we did not get fun answers. So I'm hoping for some fun.
I feel like we should all answer this next week.
I already answered mine.
I'll keep
not
it PG.
not the,
Being not the animal shelter.
Yeah, please not that.
I'll keep it PG. Being with my job, I would absolutely get rid of one of my dogs right now, and I love all three of them, but I'm not going to say which one.
You
But
have to
yeah,
have one dog that's kind of an asshole, right?
He's kind of dumb. He's kind of big. Actually, now that I say it, it'd be really hard to say goodbye. But you know what? If the Vikings would win, I would have. You know what? There's a lot of dogs out there.
We need to get some hate mail for that one.
Oh my gosh!
There will be a piece of hate mail for that one.
It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun seeing what people say.
We'll censor it if you say something dirty, and we'll keep it PG. We know a lot of people like the PG version to play this through your speakers at home or in your car. But send us whatever you got, and we'll fix it.
What did I got a Darren Sharper jersey. I'd wear a Darren Sharper jersey out in public for a month straight.
A month? Come on.
1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever.
That's like taking a Vic jersey to a dog shelter. Would you do that for a month?
Sure.
For the Vikings to
win
the Super Bowl?
You know why? Because he paid his dues. He did his time. He paid his dues to society. I would wear the Michael Vick jersey for a month at a dog shelter if it meant that the Vikings would win the Super Bowl.
And if you burnt it down?
Yeah, I would not burn it down. No burnings, Adam. No. I'm gonna have to take the lighter away from you. Okay, we got a fun topic. We'll probably keep it short-ish. We'll see where it goes. We wanted to have a little bit of fun because, it's the bye week. Not much really going on. So I thought it would be fun to do just, times that we have been absolutely dead wrong about something that we thought was going to happen with the Minnesota Vikings. Some kind of prediction, some kind of, maybe something we've said on the show. Just times that we've just been flat out, could not be more wrong if we tried about the team.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to see, I don't know, you want me to go first? I'll go first. I'm gonna say, longtime listeners might remember a segment that me and Adam Carlson did on the show where we were just so confident that Greg Jennings was going to be a vital part of this team, and he was going to stick around, and he was just going to be a big part of the offense as it continues to grow. And
I remember this episode.
Yes. The very, very next day, Greg Jennings isn't the Minnesota Vikings anymore, and Adam had to put out a disclaimer saying how wrong that we were. And it was so funny because we were both very passionate about this subject, Adam, and then it just...
He's going to be great for Mike Wallace.
Yeah. It just didn't... it didn't work out. We could not have been more wrong.
Segue the Paul Blart to here. I much rather would have been on the Greg Jennings is going to stay on this team this year and then he gets traded than to ever have to eat my words. If my wife could make fun of me right now, I would turn red in the face. After Ponder played the game of his career to get us in the playoffs, I was stuck putting all my investment money into Ponder for the next year for 2013, where we went 5-10-1. He was a dumpster fire. And I did the same thing when we picked up Josh Freeman. The only thing I zoned in on was Pro Bowl. This guy went to the Pro Bowl. We haven't had a Pro Bowl quarterback since Favre. Blah blah blah. And I was dead. Excuse my French. I was dead ass wrong on that, and it's embarrassing. And I got made fun of by a lot of my friends. So now I am very, very hesitant before I open my mouth on a player. Glad that we have Teddy now. I see a lot of potential in him. I do have his jersey, but holy crap, I couldn't have been more wrong on Christian Ponder and Josh Freeman. Couldn't have been more wrong.
Hey.
Oh, yeah? Well, Charlie Johnson did a great job blocking at left tackle for Peyton Manning. So he's going to come in and just do absolutely fabulous for the Vikings.
Well, he played for a number of years for the Vikings, Adam.
Yeah, but he lost his job at left tackle after he proved he couldn't do that. Then he moved inside, and then he lost his starting job to Vlad Dukas.
Oh. Yeah, the Charlie Johnson, I think some of us, we expected a lot of Pro Bowl years out of him, and that just didn't.
Let's be honest, it is Vlad Dukas' team. Remember that.
It will always be Vlad Dukas' team. This is more of a stupid statement than more of anything, but Brett Favre in year number 2 for the Vikings, when it wasn't working out, there was a point that I got absolutely convinced that we should bench Brett Favre for Tavares Jackson. That Tavares...
Super Bowl champion Tavares Jackson?
Exactly. That T-Jack would have been able to step in, and all the problems we were having, whatever, would have just went away. Super Bowl winning, Hall of Fame bound, multiple Pro Bowl Brett Favre.
3-time MVP.
Yes.
Yep.
For Tavares Jackson. I don't know, guys. You can just get caught up.
The Joe Webb experiment.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I had so much stock in that guy, too. What an athlete. He can do this.
Joe Webb at wide receiver is going to work.
Why are the Vikings drafting a running back with a bad shoulder instead of drafting Brady Quinn? I mean, who's this Adrian Peterson guy anyway? He's not going to have a long career.
Show of hands. I really thought that Toby Gerhart was going to light it up for Jacksonville. I know that's kind of only indirectly with us, but I mean, Jesus, man, what happened with Toby?
I was sad to see him go. I'm not going to lie.
Me too. We need to keep Toby, man. He's really going to light it up.
I'll be honest, he was never that great.
No, he wasn't, but I don't know. I really, really bought into that, too.
Speaking of running backs that should have been fullbacks, you know who I miss? I miss Jerome Felton. I'd love to have that guy back.
Oh, geez.
I'd love to have him, too.
No, you wouldn't. No.
I wouldn't. I'm just kidding. No, but really, Jerome Felton, I would love to have him back.
But what about Zach Lyon?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Touchdown machine.
He's a touchdown stealer. Come on.
Fantasy football stud.
That's right. The number of times I've been wrong about stuff.
That's part
Chris Cook turning into a shutdown corner. All it's going to take is a couple more games for Christian Ponder when things are going to click.
Still a couple more waiting for that to happen.
Rodney Smith is going to develop into a starter.
Yes, I was waiting for that.
Where is Rodney Smith? Does anyone know? Is he still playing in this league?
I don't know.
Let me Google it and find out. I found Rodney Smith photographer.
Wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Practice squad Cowboys.
Well, hey, so there's still a shot that Rodney Smith can catch on somewhere.
And I still do really like Rodney Smith.
I do too.
And the potential that we saw in Greg Childs.
That's a shame, though. You almost feel bad for even mentioning that, because who could have guessed that he'd have got hurt?
I'll never feel bad about mentioning the potential that kid had. Yeah, he was amazing.
I still think that, man, if you would have stayed healthy, Greg Childs, he had all the prototype what you were looking for a wide receiver.
Oh, yeah.
It's
all the physical tools to succeed that kid did.
It's a shame for him. It really is.
But I think I went down my list of most of my embarrassing stuff there.
Yeah, me too. So I think we have a Kyle Smith bold statement, question mark?
Yes, you do. I
Awesome.
said this the other day to the guys, and you know what? We made predictions as the season started. So, and I saw this in an article the other day. It may or may not be in one of the pro football, or not pro football, one of the power rankings that I was mentioning earlier. I feel like it was, but I could be wrong. Um, I'm going to pull up and I'm going to fluff for a couple of seconds while I pull up the schedule.
You're gonna piggyback on
Minnesota,
that.
however, comma.
Yeah. There we go.
No,
We got it in.
basically, if you look at our schedule coming up, and I don't take anything away from any opponent. San Francisco game speaks for itself. We have the Chiefs at home. We go to the Lions. We go to the Bears. We have the Rams, and then we have the Raiders. That, if you look at those records that all these teams have, they either have 500 or sub 500 records as of now. I know we're only 5 games in, but um, we do have 2 home games in that stretch. We are playing the Bears, who I think are atrocious. The Lions are doing terrible, even though they could have won in Seattle last week, which I think was crap. Chiefs lost their best player. The Rams are a big question mark. I felt like they could have made a lot of noise, and they're 2-3. We have a good chance to go 4-1 or 5-0 these next 5 games. Now, if we do go 5-0, this leads me right up to my prediction of 11-5, because after the Raiders game on November the 15th, we have a tough 4 games after that. We play the Packers in Minnesota. We go to Atlanta. The Seahawks come to Minnesota, and then we go to Arizona. So these next 5 games, in my opinion, they're going to determine the rest of the season, because we know what we have in these opponents from November to the middle of December. We don't know about these teams that are 2-2 and 2-3 right now. So
I don't
I'm
think the
just saying.
Vikings really do know that, because they can't come in and just weekend at Bernie's their way through that game. They can't just din 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 din. No, it's not going to work.
Yes. You got the
Not the
reference
way.
in.
I think what's really crazy too is coming from last year, and we know the NFL's a year-by-year league, but Detroit made the playoffs last year. They're the only winless team. I did not see that coming. The Bears, I didn't expect them to be as
it's
crappy as
Detroit.
they are.
It is
Well,
Detroit.
this is true,
You
but I
can
love their
always
coach.
see
Their
a
coach went
winless
to the Super
season
Bowl.
coming for Detroit, man.
I just don't see it with all the talent that they have. I know they lost Sue, but he's not doing anything in Miami right now. They replaced him with Haloti Nada. He's a good replacement. I did not see that coming for Detroit.
It's weird living in Michigan and talking about the Lions, because Lions fans that I know, although they're devoted to their team, they are so fickle. It's amazing.
Oh yeah. How do you they lose this year in such heartbreaking fashion, time and time again, blowing leads. I think the call in Seattle was questionable, but it's heartbreaking. We've been there before, though. We know the struggle, Detroit. We've been there.
We understand heartbreak, but man, that winless season that they had, that had to be.
I'm still, after all
See,
this bold statement that I'm saying, I'm still sticking by my statement that we're going to win for the first time since '07 in Chicago this year.
Oh, of course.
Calling it right now.
Of course.
I'm calling it.
If we don't beat the Chicago Bears, I will eat a hat.
You heard it live in here, right here, guys, on the Purple People Podcast.
We will record that, and it will be on our YouTube channel. Just me eating a hat.
I think the thing about the Lions is the 0-16 season doesn't bother me as much as the fact that they've never even been in a Super Bowl. Get there once. If losing out, yeah, it happens. You can go 0-16 and still, lose a Super Bowl. It happens. You can go 16-0, lose a Super Bowl. You can go 0-16, get an awesome draft pick. But to never even be in a Super Bowl? Come on, guys.
I will never claim to be like a big-time trivia expert for all the NFL little stuff like that. I honestly didn't know that. I really would have thought that, when they had Barry Sanders, at least once they would have had to have gone.
No.
Wow, no wonder he retired.
They never did it. Never did it.
I mean, we've been to 4 of them. I mean, we lost all 4 of them, but we've still been to Super Bowls with the Vikings. Well, I mean, we haven't. Personally, we haven't been there, not unless you got a time machine.
Right.
I don't know about you guys, maybe you guys do. I don't.
I haven't told anybody yet, so thanks for that.
All right, here's an update on the Survival League on Yahoo. There are only 14 teams remaining. One team is still flawless. 6 teams have 1 strike, and 7 teams have 2 strikes. So the game is heating up. Teams are dropping like flies. 6 teams got dropped last week. There's 7 teams in danger of being eliminated next week. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens.
Oh, Adam, did you want to give a shout out to a certain Minnesota sports team?
The Wild, I like hockey.
Yes.
No, congratulations go to the Minnesota Lynx. WNBA champions again. They are the most dominant Minnesota sports team right now. And it's so nice to see a championship tradition in Minnesota. Hopefully Minnesota can have the Vikings build off that kind of motivation in the future.
Congratulations to them. And I know the WNBA gets overlooked. It's not very popular, but what is it? 3 titles in 5 years? That's just dominance. That's elite play. So congratulations.
That's all I got for this week. You guys got anything else?
No, I think that'll just about wrap it up. I want to thank everyone for putting up with my stupid voice for the bulk of the show. Gotta fill in for Adam every now and then, so
I appreciate it.
Thanks for sticking it out. I can't steal your line, though, Adam. This is your line.
All right. Well, head on over to Facebook. You can message us there and add in the conversation. On Twitter, we're at Purple People Pod. The Kyles will take care of you there. In the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.